Well, right now we're going to talk about if Donald Trump gets a second term, what will that mean for the economy? And so people get so emotional about him, and I don't really understand why that is. And so I was talking to Julia the other day about how I view presidential candidates like I handicap retail stocks. Okay? You have to take the emotion out of it. So I'm going to get a lot of trouble for this, but you can kind of liken Donald Trump to Walmart. A lot of people love to hate on Walmart. They're big business. They're terrible. They're, the bully in the schoolyard. They're taking advantage of, the American employee, the people of Walmart. People wear pajamas, blah, 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 blah. That's like a stupid trope, right? So when I hear people bashing either Biden or Trump, you'd have to take the emotion out of it. And as a consumer analyst and, economist, I just want to see who's going to help the economy the most. I literally don't care about your moral code or lack thereof. I don't care how many lawsuits are against you because they both have plenty. I don't care if you're geriatric. I mean, I kind of do. But I don't care about your personal peccadillos. I care about what you're going to do for this economy. And Mike and I have gone back for what? How long have I known him? 10 years? I think since my kids were super little. And we were chit-chatting on KTAR, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, longer than that. And Julia brought up a good point about talking about where we are versus where we were with the Trump economy. So just for, those of you that are following along at home, we had 2% inflation, barely, during the Trump administration. 2019 was one of the most booming economies until COVID hit. And so if he is elected for a second term, I believe we will have a thriving economy. And so there are a lot of pundits out there that are posing the question, what happens? What happens in the economy? And recall that the Fed right now and Jerome Powell, they are trying to get down to 2% inflation. They're not doing it. And yesterday we talked ad nauseum about the tight labor market that the administration says is happening, right? These jobs numbers coming in hot. But what are those jobs? Those jobs are part-time jobs. They're not full-time jobs. If you are earning $100,000 or more, you're the one that's getting laid off right now. So that upscale worker, they're the ones that are hitting the unemployment line, right? But if you're making $55,000 or less, those jobs are plentiful. So what does that really say about the economy? I don't think it's so great. And we're going to talk about a few things later coming up about buy now, pay later and this kind of, secret credit crunch that no one's really talking about will really show the cracks in the American economy right now. So you can say what you want about Donald Trump, right, wrong, or indifferent, but if I'm looking at this from a purely economic perspective, I do miss the guy and I miss his policies. So what would he do? He'd talk about universal tariffs. That's his big thing. And actually, we were talking about TikTok earlier, and we're going to talk about TikTok coming up with my friend Gary Dvorak from the Blue Shirt Group, who's an expert on all things ByteDance. One thing you could do to really regulate on TikTok is just exert a tariff on it, right? Just being a foreign entity. So why don't we just do that instead of banning it all over the world, right? And banning it here. That's a big Trumpian kind of thing. He loves to exert tariffs on other countries. People are worried that would cause inflation. I am not in that camp. I don't think that would cause inflation. The other thing that he would do is lower interest rates. He wants to completely abolish the Fed, which at this point, we're also going to talk about Milei in Argentina, who has actually managed pretty much to almost abolish the entire central bank in Argentina. That's coming up soon. I know I'm dropping a lot of numbers on you and a lot of topics today, but he would absolutely lower interest rates. And I don't care who you are, everyone has been affected by inflation and interest rates in this country, whether it's your student loan debt, your revolving consumer credit debt, your housing payment, all of that. Car loans, my gosh. The delinquencies right now on car loans and credit cards are insane. I mean, the amount of people that are over 90 days delinquent has skyrocketed. So anyone that's going to bring down those interest rates is absolutely going to fare better. And so for a while, immigration, for a brief moment until we had this whole abortion issue, that was really at the forefront of most, U.S. consumers, what they worried about most. Now we're back to inflation and the economy. This will really hurt Biden. And he can forgive all the student loans he wants to. That's great for those student loan owners. But when you're at the checkout line at the grocery, when you are in the gas station line, and everything's costing you more, and that's going to hurt him. I don't care what he did. I don't care about stimulus. I don't care about any of that. But right now, it really comes down to your paycheck and how much of it is left at the end of the day. We definitely also want lower taxes. That's another thing that Trump would do. And, he could do that without increasing inflationary pressures. And tax cuts make life affordable for all U.S. Americans, right? And all U.S. taxpayers. So that's something that we definitely are looking into. Here's the thing that's interesting. So his biggest advantage in the inflation debate is his own record. And when you look at it, we had 2% inflation solid in 2019. And what do we have now? 3-ish, maybe creeping up? I don't know. But you can't argue the fact that most Americans that are polled today, and we'll talk about polling coming up pretty soon in the general election with Trump and Jim Cross shortly, it is the economy, stupid. It is inflation. And so when you're looking at the better candidate, is your life better? Is it better? For most Americans, it's not. For a very small fraction of Americans, they're killing it, and life is great for them. But how is the rest of the country faring, and how are they going to vote? And that's something that we're definitely going to pay attention to very, very shortly. He's called for 10% tariffs on all imports. And do we think a $1,500 annual tax increase for a typical household, do we think that's going to be the result of that? I don't think so. And there's so many pros and cons about how Americans handled a Trump economy and a Biden economy. And I think that there were just a much more robust economy under Trump, regardless of what you think about his policies, regardless of what you think about his personal life. I don't care. I really don't. I don't care about Biden's personal life. I don't care about his dementia. I don't care about, falling up the stairs, down the stairs, falling asleep in court. I don't care about that stuff. What I do care is about my kids and about the economy and about their future. And so in that regard, when you take all of the emotional drama out of it, and, a lot of my cohorts here at KTAR get very feisty when we talk about Trump versus Biden, and they're very emotional about it. I'm not emotional about it. I just want a better economy. I want a better economy for my kids, and I want a better economy for myself. And in my opinion, I do think that a Trump second term, albeit chaotic with a lot of his policies, he wants to crack down on immigration and send, 1 million people back, probably more. I do think that Americans have had their fill of illegal immigrants and everything else that's going along with it. Crime, inflation, all of that stuff. And people will argue that having a large immigrant population, this is what a lot of economists will tell you and why they think the economy is better, because this illegal immigrant population are taking a lot of jobs that most Americans don't want. That's the argument. They will say that immigration is good because it's kind of fueling the economy with this kind of lower gray area type of gray market jobs. I don't want that to be the crux of the American economy. I don't want illegal immigrants to be the focus. I want energy independence to be the focus. I want booming business. I want small business to be I want a thriving middle class. That's what I want.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch and listen to the new season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.